Good morning, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Another morning video, so you know what that means. Another slight risk for severe weather. Before I get into it, let's make sure we're hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button and also getting that bell on so that we can be notified of every video. But that being said, let's get into it today. It's a pretty broad area over here for slight risk. It extends all the way from Wyoming all the way into central Texas. We have multiple states involved here. We even have Cheyenne. We haven't seen too much of Wyoming getting involved in severe weather, but today could be a little bit bigger of a day. All hazards are possible and at least up to slight risk criteria. There's even hatch risk for wind down south towards Texas. And then the hail threat exists in both areas. Both of them have hatch risk. We could see some pretty big hail today. We'll be going live mainly for that reason, but we do have a 5% area for tornadoes, including the city of Cheyenne. Been hearing that National Weather Service station talking about it a little bit over the last day or so. I was just kind of waiting for them to pull the trigger and put that 5% area up, but which we now have. So that being said, I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I'm not super confident in an enhanced risk upgrade, but we'll have to wait and see. But large area of severe weather likely today. Let's also not forget about the marginal risk that's over here towards the southern tip of Florida here towards the peninsula, southern Georgia, and the panhandle here. So a large portion of this state and some portions of the southeast could see some severe weather today. The chance is a little bit less than what we've been seeing, but nonetheless, mainly the threat for those guys are wind and hail as well. Mainly wind, to be completely honest. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the models here. So the reason for the disturbance in the southeast is because of this counterclockwise low that we've had meandering around for a while. It's a mid-level low really, but nonetheless, this is able to cause just enough lift for storms to develop here, and it's going to be persistent over the course of the next few days. There will be chances of rain even as far north as Atlanta, maybe even further to the north than that, maybe even towards the Carolinas over the course of the whole week really, or at least the remainder of it. Then, when we look towards today's threat, the main event, so to speak, we can see that we do have a little branch of this upper level jet here that kind of breaks off over here. And as a result, we end up seeing this tiny little area where we could see some lift generate and some storms develop. It's not a super strong setup up in the upper level patterns. It's more so towards the mid levels. It's kind of more traditional of a June type setup. So as a whole here, it's not really until about O2Z where we start to see anything that would make me believe that there's severe potential over here. With this, you're looking for more short waves than anything else. But from the looks of it here, like I said, not anything super impressive. It forms a little bit late, if anything. The timing of this is also key, but I'm thinking tornadoes might be down to a minimal based off what I'm saying here with the short wave. Low level jet's another key factor, and from what I see on the low levels, we do get some development, but it's more so to the south, especially towards the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles here. Of course, towards 03, it does ramp up here just a little bit. Like I said, a little bit of a later evening, late night setup, so the likelihood of me going live is a little higher because of that. Still kind of uncertain as to what could happen with these Texas storms. There could be a 2% area issued for that for the panhandles, but we'll more or less just have to wait and see how things go throughout the day. Wouldn't surprise me if it did end up getting a 2 at least. I don't know if it's enough necessarily for 5, but we already know that the moist sector is pretty abundant at this point here, especially up towards the panhandle of Texas. But the real question ends up becoming is how far to the west does this moisture reach? If it can reach over towards it, it's like it has a hard time reaching to Cheyenne, because this is Cheyenne right here, and we're still in the 40s and 50s. There's a small little pocket right here where we get up to 60 degrees plus. That's the key component to a lot of this. If it can get a little bit further to the west here, I would be a little bit more concerned with severe weather coverage over here. Still am, but the greater the moisture, the more powerful the storms are likely to be. Speaking of power, we can also look at convective available potential energy for that, or CAPE. So with that, this is about the time where we would expect some storms to start to fire. Colorado seems a little bit more favorable at the moment, if you ask me, because it has the higher CAPE values at the moment. But when the forcing really starts to improve and the low-level jet starts to kick in towards about O2Z, I would say west central Colorado is interesting to me at the moment. But even then, we're not really getting much in the way of tornadic here. It looks more like a severe wind setup, maybe a little bit of hail. This place has been magic. This place has a history of being magical as well when it comes to hail, Colorado and Wyoming. So something to definitely keep close watch on tonight. And then by the time we get later into the evening, of course, we start to lose that instability. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the composite reflectivity here. But this one, of course, will have a twist to it. We're going to look at the updraft helicity. This can depict damaging wind, hail, and even tornado potential as well. So throughout the day, we'll have storms firing off towards the heart of the country. Not expected to reach severe limits, so it's something to keep an eye on here. Interesting to see this right here, though. This is the first storm of the day over towards Wyoming. It does get a little bit of an updraft here. Even tries to take on a little bit of supercellular structure. A few of these do pop up, and I think I would be home in time to cover this. But you see even more coverage beginning to develop over towards Colorado, too. This starts to evolve more so into a line of storms as we get later into the evening here. And then the Colorado storms start to do the same. And then just as quickly as they come in, they're about out of here. Then late into the evening and into the early morning hours tomorrow, maybe we could see some storms pop off in Texas. I'm going to rewind it one more time. But I do think initiation would happen earlier in the day. Yep, and there's our line right there. Do see some updraft streaks here. That's indicative of updraft helicity. And as we head later into the evening, this kind of pushes more towards southern Texas here. Could be a nice line of storms with hail and wind. Tornado threat should still be pretty minimal at this point, though. Again, it's pretty much a similar deal across Texas. These storms could persist a little bit longer in Texas because there's more instability down there, but we'll have to just wait and see how things play out. But that's pretty much what things are going to be for tonight as of right now. I do think there still could be some changes ahead. Weather always loves to throw curveballs, so while I wouldn't say necessarily take this one entirely with a grain of salt, there's pretty good confidence in the forecast, but nonetheless, be aware for changing, be prepared for changing conditions. Last but not least, got to talk about it. It's the tropics. I'm not going to go into great detail because the forecast from yesterday still kind of holds up well. But we have Tropical Storm Bret getting up to about 60 miles an hour now as of the last update. This is the 5 a.m. AST advisory. This is expected to strengthen into a hurricane. We're going to look at the cone here, and we can easily see, there's been some changes here. This is no longer expected to become a hurricane. But that's interesting, though, because maybe this could make a close pass with Jamaica here. Thankfully, it won't be a significant storm from the looks of it. And then on top of that, we're getting into a more unfavorable environment, because if we look at my video yesterday, you'll see that the wind shear over here towards this region was very unfavorable for tropical development or enhancement. So that being said, I'm not too concerned with Bret in the long run. I think that Bret will probably fizzle out before it really gets to land, but just in case, we'll still keep an eye on it. Then also, we have this next tropical wave out here behind it that has a 70% chance of developing within the next 48 hours, and then the next 7 days is about 80%. So literally, it's going to be riding right on the coattails of Bret. Not to mention, I do see this additional tropical wave that looks like it's trying to come off the West African coast here. That's going to have to be watched extra closely as well. So we're going to be keeping an extra close eye on that one too. Probably going to be more tropical updates in the coming weeks due to simply just how active things have been. But that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said before, you know what to do. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, ring the bell, and also share this video. Also, comments are always welcome. Down to answer questions. That being said, I'm going to get out of here and get to work. This has been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys later tonight.